Have you ever considered the importance of inclusive and person-centered care in aged care? It's a question that is gaining more and more attention, and for good reason. In our fast-paced world, it's easy to overlook the individuality of each person, especially when it comes to elderly care. But here's the thing: every person has unique needs, preferences, and values. These aspects shouldn't be ignored. Instead, they should be at the core of their care plan. This approach is what we call person-centered care. You see, person-centered care isn't just about treating symptoms or managing conditions. It's about seeing the person behind the patient. It's about understanding their life story, their likes and dislikes, their goals and fears. It's about respecting their autonomy and empowering them to make decisions about their care. But person-centered care is just one piece of the puzzle. Inclusivity is the other crucial element. Inclusive care means ensuring that everyone, regardless of their race, religion, gender, sexual orientation, or disability, feels respected, valued, and most importantly, included. In aged care, inclusivity can make all the difference. It promotes a sense of belonging, which is a fundamental human need. It can help reduce feelings of loneliness and isolation, which are all too common among the elderly. It can also improve the quality of life for the elderly by ensuring that their unique needs and preferences are met. So why is all this so important? Well, with an aging population, the demand for aged care is increasing. It's predicted that by the year 2050, 1 in 6 people in the world will be over the age of 65. As such, we need to ensure that our care models are not only effective, but also respectful and inclusive. Inclusive and person-centered care is not just a concept, it is a necessity in aged care. It's about time we put the care back in healthcare, don't you think? As we move forward, let's strive to create an aged care system that truly values and respects each individual's unique journey. Now, you might be wondering, what are the tangible benefits of such an approach in aged care? Well, let's dive into that. Firstly, inclusive and person-centered care greatly improves the quality of life for the elderly. This approach recognizes each person's unique needs, preferences, and values. As a result, the elderly feel understood and respected, leading to a heightened sense of self-worth and overall happiness. Secondly, this care model leads to increased satisfaction with the care provided. When a person's individual needs are met and their preferences are taken into account, it leads to a more positive care experience. They feel listened to, understood, and catered for. This satisfaction extends beyond the person receiving care to their loved ones as well. Thirdly, better health outcomes are another significant benefit of this approach. Inclusive and person-centered care focuses on the whole person, not just their medical needs. It takes into account the social, emotional, and psychological aspects of health. This holistic approach leads to improved mental health, reduced hospital readmissions, and overall better physical health. Lastly, let's not forget about the caregivers. They too experience increased satisfaction when they adopt this approach. When caregivers can form meaningful relationships with those they care for, their work feels more rewarding. They're not just providing care, they're making a real difference in someone's life. This results in lower caregiver turnover rates, which is beneficial for both the care recipients and the healthcare system as a whole. So, the benefits of inclusive and person-centered care are quite substantial. It leads to an improved quality of life, increased satisfaction with care, better health outcomes, and increased caregiver satisfaction. By adopting this approach, we can make a significant impact on the lives of the elderly, their loved ones, and the caregivers who dedicate their lives to this noble profession. So the benefits are clear, but how does it work in practice? Stay tuned to find out. Consider the case of Mrs. Johnson, an 85-year-old woman living in a nursing home. Mrs. Johnson's life, like many others her age, was once filled with a routine that lacked personalization and inclusivity. She was just another resident, receiving the same care as everyone else, a system where her unique needs and preferences were often overlooked. But then a change was introduced to her care plan. This change was the implementation of person-centered and inclusive care, a model that put her needs, desires, and wishes at the heart of her care. Let's journey through Mrs. Johnson's transformation. Before the change, Mrs. Johnson often felt lonely and isolated. Her days lacked the personal interaction and engagement she craved. However, with the advent of person-centered care, her social interactions improved dramatically. The staff now took the time to engage with her on a personal level, understanding her desires, listening to her stories, and including her in decision-making processes regarding her care. This made her feel valued, respected, and included. Inclusive care also made a significant difference. Mrs. Johnson, who has a love for gardening, was included in the nursing home's gardening club. This inclusion not only provided her with a sense of belonging, but also offered her an outlet for her passion. She was no longer just a resident, she was a member of a community. Now let's talk about her health. Prior to the introduction of person-centered care, Mrs. Johnson's health was deteriorating. She was disinterested in her meals, her physical activities were limited, and her mental health was on a decline. But with a care plan tailored to her preferences and needs, Mrs. Johnson began to thrive. She enjoyed meals catered to her tastes, participated in physical activities she loved, and her mental health improved as she felt more engaged and less isolated. In terms of overall satisfaction, Mrs. Johnson's experience paints a vivid picture. Before, she felt like just another resident, but the implementation of person-centered and inclusive care made her feel seen and heard. She became an active participant in her care rather than a passive recipient. She began to look forward to her days, filled with activities she enjoyed and interactions she cherished. Reflect on the transformation in Mrs. Johnson's life, the change in her mood, her improved health, the smile that rarely left her face. These were not mere coincidences. They were the direct result of a care plan that recognized her as an individual with unique needs and preferences. They were the result of a system that included her, that made her feel like she belonged, that respected her autonomy, and valued her input. The impact of person-centered and inclusive care is profound. It goes beyond the physical and penetrates the emotional and psychological realms of a person's well-being. It is about understanding that every individual, regardless of their age or health condition, has a unique story, unique needs, and unique desires. It is about acknowledging these differences, embracing them, and incorporating them into the care we provide. Mrs. Johnson's story is a clear testament to the power of inclusive and person-centered care. It's about time we recognize and implement this in all facets of aged care, for the sake of Mrs. Johnson, and for all the other individuals who deserve to feel seen, heard, and valued in their twilight years. With these benefits, it becomes clear that inclusive and person-centered care is the future of aged care. As we venture into the future, the aged care industry stands on the brink of a revolution that could dramatically improve the lives of millions of elderly people across the globe. The key to this transformation is inclusive and person-centered care. Imagine a world where every elderly individual is treated not just as a patient, but as a unique person with individual needs, aspirations, and experiences. A world where care is not just about managing symptoms and illnesses, but about enhancing the quality of life and promoting well-being. This approach recognizes that every person has a unique life history and a set of values that should be respected and integrated into their care plan. It sees the person behind the age and focuses on maintaining their dignity, autonomy, and sense of self. The potential benefits are profound: improved mental and physical health, enhanced quality of life, greater satisfaction with care, reduced hospital admissions. The list goes on, and the ripple effects could be just as significant. A happier, healthier elderly population could lead to reduced healthcare costs and less strain on the healthcare system. It could also lead to a more caring, compassionate society where age is valued and respected. The future of aged care is not just about new technologies and treatments. It's about a shift in mindset, a shift towards seeing the person, not just the patient. Embracing this approach can truly transform aged care for the better. But we can't do it alone. The power of change lies in each of us. By advocating for inclusive and person-centered care within our own communities, we can be the catalysts for a transformation in aged care. You have a role to play, and your influence can shape the way we approach this crucial sector. So let's rise to this challenge collectively. Join us in making a difference. Subscribe for more videos on this topic, and let's transform aged care together.